Hello, I'm Jerry Haig. I'd like to share with you a brief story that I performed at last week's Story Slam event in the Lydia's pub on Broadway in Saskatoon. For those of you not familiar with Story Slams, they're a competitive event. At Lydia's, they're held every month or so as part of the Tonight It's Poetry program, which is normally, as its name implies, a poetry event, but in this case, stories are told. They're marked by 5 volunteer judges from the audience, and marks are assigned much like they might be in an ice dance competition. So, for instance, you might score something like 8.4, or perhaps 9.1, or something in between, anything between 0 and 10, depending on how well the judges like your story. And if you go over time, you will be docked. Now, not all 5 of the marks are used, only the middle 3, which are added, and then the winner is the one with the greatest total. The top mark is removed because the judge may be a friend of the teller. And as our MC last year in the National Story Slam competition in Montreal put it, the bottom mark is removed because, as she said, it's possible that the teller is sleeping with the judge's partner. Anyway, here's a story about the intelligence of orangutans. Enjoy.
1988, my friend Lyndsay Phillips, who was the veterinarian at the Henry Zorley Zoo in Omaha, Nebraska, shared this account with me about some work he'd done with orangutans. He had gone into work early one morning, like everybody else on staff, and been horrified to see the alpha male, the 3 adult females and the 2 juveniles up on the very peak of the roof of the great ape house. And of course that was a bit disturbing. Well, they didn't panic because they knew, as everybody who's worked with great apes, that they are the most intelligent of all the great apes by a long chalk. And so they talked them down with some food and brought them in back into the pen and closed them up in their pen. Now, all these great ape facilities have the window on the public side, you will have seen, and at the back, the cages with bars and a big padlock that is closed, and so they're kept in that way. Well, of course, the padlock was open, because that's where the animals had come out. So the director of the zoo, a man called Lee Simmons, went up one side of the keepers, down across the top and down the other, as you can well imagine. Really reamed them out. And everybody was highly embarrassed about the whole thing. Well, that was it. That night, the guys very carefully made sure the padlock was properly closed. And off they went. Well, they came in the following morning at 7 o'clock, and what do you think? Yeah. Up on the roof of the great ape house are the alpha male, the 3 females, and the juveniles. Now, as I said, they're the most intelligent of all the great apes. And so they talk these guys back down, and let me tell you how intelligent they are. 2 examples of many about their intelligence. One of those females in that troop would routinely pick up a spare broom, because the keepers always took a broom in with them when they cleaned up, and help the keepers sweeping out the pen. And the other thing about orangutans is that they're incredibly powerful and incredibly patient. So every orangutan place in the world has an ice cream pail in which they keep nuts and bolts. And over time, the orangs will have undone, because of their incredible strength and patience, a number of nuts and shoved the bolts out. And when the ice cream pail gets full, that's the time to shut them in their night quarters and go back in and get the wrenches out and do it all up again. Well, what was going on with these animals coming out 2 nights running? So they decided to get some volunteers involved. And the volunteers stood in that corridor behind where the keepers come in for 3 nights. And what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So that was it. A weird quirk of fate, something funny. And of course, the next morning when everybody came into work, what do you think? Up on the apex of the building. Now was the time to bring the CCTV cameras in, which they did. They installed the cameras, and about 2 in the morning on the footage on the time, a pair of hands emerged between the bars and something started fiddling with a padlock. 20 minutes later, the door was opened and the orangs walked off down the passage. What the hell? So, Lyndsay was instructed by the zoo director to examine these orangs and see what was going on. And of course they'd searched the cage very thoroughly by then. So, he immobilized them one by one in the holding quarters, the handling facilities, and put his gloves on and did a very thorough examination of all the orifices you can think of to see what was going on, and found absolutely nothing. No clues. So finally he decided the answer must be to take some x-rays. So he started, by good fortune, with the alpha male. And lo and behold, on the x-ray, on the head, in front of the teeth, was a radio-dense object. Didn't know what it was, so he took that glove and he put his hand inside the alpha male's mouth and emerged with a length of wire. This is a true story published in the scientific literature. This orang had learned to become a lockpick.